Willie Silly Man, aka Mr. Take It Easy. But yeah, the life easy. But make sure y'all follow my Instagram and Twitch in the description down below. Everything you need to know about your boy Jay is in the description down below. We got the untold story of America's most dangerous drug smuggler, man. You know what I'm saying? If y'all do want to go see videos like this, you know what I mean, it is in the true crime playlist section. That true crime playlist section has 11,000 views, bro. The scare reactions, 23,000 views, man. Have over 100 videos in the scare reaction playlist, man. Everything is set up for you. All your ugly self got to do is just go over to the playlist section, sit your ugly self down and watch it. You know what I mean? I got everything set out for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But let's go and see what this drug smuggler talking about, man. How y'all ugly niggas doing?
Pilot, but little did anyone know that he would go down in history as the biggest drug smuggler in America. He managed to smuggle drugs worth $20 billion. What's even stranger is that this person didn't look like any typical smuggler, and his life was far from what one would expect of a criminal. On the contrary, he was a successful businessman, owning a large company and building genuine relationships with politicians and influential figures. There's even a photo of him with the U.S. president at that time.
What the frick is that?
How did a man like him manage to engage in drug trafficking right under everyone's noses without raising suspicion? Can you imagine that he continued smuggling drugs even during his trial, while they were discussing his smuggling charges? And astonishingly, they never noticed, and he was acquitted of all charges. Join us as we delve into the extraordinary story of the biggest drug trafficker in American history.
Yeah, man, my hair
The
not
story
little,
takes
man.
place in the year 1983, at the cusp of the 1980s, when drug smuggling into America was flourishing, primarily led by Colombian drug cartels, with the infamous Medellin cartel. Headed by
I knew this nigga name was gonna pop up. I knew this nigga name was going. This man name pop up in everything. That ain't Pablo. Ain't we had connects everywhere, did you? Every time it's talking about some drug smuggler, this nigga name pop up. Golly. I mean, I ain't surprised because bro was literally like, you know what I'm saying, you know, the top 10, you feel me, most richest man in the world. You know, bro just had connects in every, man, bro had connects in every country. Bro was the biggest drug smuggler, bro. And all the smugglers, not smuggler, but kingpin.
Led by Colombian drug cartels, with the infamous Medellin cartel, headed by the notorious
nigga always in something
at the forefront. These cartels
recruiting
many American citizens to work as accomplices in their drug trafficking operations. In response to the escalating drug problem, the American authorities, particularly the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, intensified their efforts and declared war against the smugglers. The American smugglers would fly their small private planes to Colombia, where they would load the drugs and then fly back to America to deliver the illicit cargo. The drugs would then be distributed and sold by drug networks within the country. The DEA identified Florida as a key gateway for most drug imports due to its proximity to Colombia. The small planes used by the smugglers couldn't fly long distances due to their limited fuel capacity, so they had to take the shortest route possible, which was the path between Florida and Colombia.
It's just like stuff like this, bro. I told y'all, bro, for me, I told you, money not that important to me. You know what I mean? Where I have to do illegal things, bro. I just want to do the right thing, bro. You getting your money the right way is just so much better than getting it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Because like you can't really just enjoy your money for real. You always paranoid. You know what I mean? Always thinking that the DEA watching you. You feel me? You just can't enjoy it, bro. You know, you make your money the right way, bro. You know, you make millions, bro, the right way, bro. You cooling. I'm cooling. You know what I'm saying? It's just better making money the right way than the wrong way. You know what I mean? Because it's always, fast money is going to dwindle away. And I try to tell you, I always bring it up. It talks about that in the Bible, bro. You know what I mean? That junk be true. Fast money dwindles away. I forgot what scripture it is, bro. You know what I mean? You getting that fast money, taking shortcuts, you know what I mean? Stealing, doing all that. You ain't going to keep it, bro. Whether if it's you die, you go to jail, something going to happen to you, bro. You know what I mean? Fast money ain't the way, bro. You know what I mean? Just keeping it real with you, man. So, you know, I don't care how long it's taking. Patience, my brother, patience. Because money ain't worth it, bro. Money ain't worth death. Money ain't worth jail time, especially jail time. You know what I mean? Honestly, bro. Jail, bro.
The DEA closely monitored the activities of the smugglers
Can't do jail,
and began noticing a distinctive pattern among them. They were often seen wearing gold chains, expensive watches, and similar outfits, indicating a uniform style among these traffickers. The DEA targeted these smugglers and successfully apprehended many of them. The number of operatives they had in Florida was larger than in any other place. To further combat drug smuggling, the DEA established a massive surveillance network, including ground-based radar systems and aerial radar-equipped planes that conducted continuous patrols around the clock. Even the U.S. Navy contributed by using radar-equipped warships to monitor the coastal areas from where the smugglers would take
messed
off.
up, bro.
Thus, the DEA was covering land, air, and sea, making it increasingly challenging for the smugglers to operate. And to counter the DEA's strategies, some smugglers adopted more cunning tactics, but the intense campaigns of the police were closing in on them more and more. Instead of arresting the smugglers immediately upon discovery, the DEA allowed them to continue their activities while closely monitoring their operations. This strategy led the DEA to uncover not just the smugglers, but also the drug dealers within the country. By apprehending both the smugglers and the dealers in one blow, they could seize the drugs and even the profits earned from selling them all at once.
See, that's what I'm saying. And the thing is, what's so freaking dangerous about the DEA, you know what I mean? What makes it just so dangerous, you don't know when the DEA's watching you. So the whole time they think that their plan is working, whole time your plan is not working. They're watching you the whole time. They don't even know they're being watched. You feel me? That's why niggas just always getting caught. Cause they think they getting away with it. You know what I mean? I can keep doing it. They ain't whole time you being surveillance, bro. You don't even freaking know it, bro. You know what I'm saying? So man, don't think you always, bro. Don't think you getting away with it, bro. You ain't getting away with it. Same thing for scamming, bro. Y'all niggas think I get away with scamming, bro? Heck no. You know what I mean? Keep watching, and then when that time right, they gonna bust up out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Got so much evidence, bro, to stick you in jail for years and years.
And because of these fierce campaigns by the authorities, many smugglers were caught or stopped their activities permanently. But one man dared to challenge the entire system. He managed to smuggle a much larger quantity of drugs than any other smuggler, with a shipment valued in the billions. This man employed exceptionally clever methods to evade the extensive security radar network. The DEA knew of his existence but couldn't track him down or arrest him. Despite allocating a special pursuit force to him, his case remained their biggest priority because he was accomplishing what dozens of smugglers were doing. So, who is this man? How did he carry out his activities? And how did he manage to remain hidden from their sight for so long? The reason that made this task challenging for them was that they were searching in the wrong place. This smuggler was not operating in Florida, and he did not fit the typical profile of regular smugglers. The man is Rick Lucius, and he was, in fact, a businessman and seemingly a law-abiding citizen. He lived in the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania. He seemed to live such a quiet life that no one would ever imagine that he was a drug trafficker. What helped Rick was his expertise and knowledge as a pilot and aviation engineer of the highest caliber. He had been obsessed with aviation since he was a young child. Imagine that he obtained a pilot's license while he was still in high school. He then attended aviation college.
He got a pilot license when he was in high school.
Everything about flying, from piloting aircraft to engineering them, becoming a true aviation expert. After graduating, he became a specialized professor in aviation. Shortly after that, he started his own venture and established a company called Air America. This company specialized in modifying small private aircraft like the ones you see now. The modifications included increasing fuel tank capacity to extend the aircraft's range without frequent refueling. So instead of flying only 1,000 kilometers, after modifications, it could fly twice the distance. Of course, with increased fuel tank capacity, the aircraft's weight increased, necessitating modifications to the wings and strengthening them, and sometimes requiring changes to the wheels and engines. Rick and his company executed these modifications with professionalism and precision, gaining a strong reputation and considerable fame. The business thrived, yielding substantial profits, and this granted Rick a high social status and the opportunity to befriend important people in society. He established connections with police leaders and the state governor, and even had multiple meetings with them to discuss business and possible developments in the city.
Nobody thinking he doing that. I mean, you looking at, bro, you know what I'm saying? You won't think that nigga's a drug trafficker, bro. You know what I mean? That's why I say you never know who you coming across, bro. The whole time, this man like a regular freaking businessman, like a freaking lawyer. Now, I'm looking at this man. This man was a walk, you know, in front of me today. I'm not looking at the first thought that coming to my mind, bro. Freaking drug trafficker, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, now getting connects, police leaders, you know what I mean? A lot of powerful people. And the thing is, the people that he's being friends with don't even know the man a drug trafficker, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and at the end of the day, bro, this smart nigga, see, you gotta realize when it comes to drug smuggling, when it comes to criminal lifestyle, you gotta be picture perfect, bro. Picture freaking perfect. You make one mistake, bro, you're screwed. Everything gotta be perfect. That's why everybody done met the dust. I told you we can go from the Pablo Escobars, we can go from the El Chapos, we can go from the biggest names, man. You know what I mean? All the bit the freaking dust. You know what I mean? Because I'll take that one mistake, man. That one mistake. You know, the police officers, they can mess up plenty of times. They can mess up plenty of times. They can come back. But they you know, they get that one hit, it's over with. That's what I say, man. A lot of y'all niggas, you do something 1,000 times. You feel me? Yeah. I ain't get caught, so I can do it again. I ain't get caught, so I can do it again. I ain't get caught, so I can do it again. Take you get caught that one time. You get caught that one time, you're freaking screwed. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of niggas think, oh yeah, I can rob houses. I've been robbing houses since I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? I've been kicking doors since the nigga been 15. You know, so I can keep on doing it, boom. Keep on doing it, boom, boom. That nigga done kicked in doors 1,000 times. That one time he kicked in that door, 20 years to life. You know what I'm saying? That one time, I'm telling y'all, but one time, it take you getting caught. One time for your life to be messed the freak up.
Rick started attending important events and gatherings, and as we mentioned earlier, he even met the former U.S.
I don't know what the freak that. And react to these niggas bringing back the deer wolf. I don't know what the freak that is.
President at one of these occasions. He became a significant figure in the community.
Appreciate the subscription.
Seemed to be going well from all angles until
what's subscriber Prime.
In that year, a severe economic.
And then, like I say, it was 1980. So okay, 1980. You know what I mean? Like as of now, you know what I'm saying? As of now, you know what I mean? You're not getting away with that. Like honestly, I feel like Pablo Escobar, bro, wouldn't have been as big as he was, bro. Like now. Now, y'all, the technology is crazy. You feel me? So you don't hear about no kingpins as big as Pablo Escobar no more. You don't hear the El Chapos no more. You know what I mean? That's not happening in today's time. You feel me? It's too much technology, bro. It's too much, bro. Back then, they didn't have all the resources to catch these type of... Now? Back then, they didn't have all the resources to catch them type of dudes. But now, AI, all this technology, bro. Man, that's what I was trying to tell y'all. But y'all niggas out here committing crime. That's the dumbest thing you can do is commit crime now. Dumbest thing you can do is commit crime now. So a lot of these niggas just can't get away with crime. It's too much technology. It's too much going on. Cameras everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's cameras.
Angles until the year.
You see how them niggas did? FBG Duck went downtown. Thought they got away with it. Them niggas, bro, I'm talking about them niggas on camera from leaving Oak Block to going to FBG Duck. All of them got fried. All of them got cooked. Cameras everywhere, bro. So if you out here trying to commit crimes, you out here trying to do dirty work, you better best believe something looking at you. You best believe some cameras looking at you. And these ain't regular cameras, nigga. These are $1 million cameras.
1980.
4K, nigga.
A severe economic crisis hit the world, affecting America in particular.
I would say, I be chilling, bro.
At that time, Rick's company faced significant challenges as their regular clients, business owners, and entrepreneurs suddenly disappeared. Instead, a new type of customer emerged, a suspicious kind that appeared to have connections with criminal gangs. These customers' requests were always dubious, asking for modifications on their planes to create hidden storage spaces where they could conceal goods without being easily detected even if the aircraft were searched. Such suspicious requests made it evident that these individuals were involved in smuggling illegal items. Rick knew that, in all likelihood, these clients were seeking to smuggle illicit goods. However, due to the financial difficulties his company was facing, he reluctantly accepted these dubious customers and performed the suspicious modifications they requested. For a period, he continued to work with these questionable clients. Imagine that on one occasion, after Rick and his staff made the requested modifications to a client's plane, the client insisted on paying the bill with illegal drugs. Rick, who was in dire need of money to pay his workers' salaries, found himself without any other choice but to accept the bag of drugs. Unknowingly, the client turned out to be an undercover police officer. As soon as he handed the drugs to Rick, they arrested him on the spot and seized the bag. Through interrogation and investigation, they realized that Rick was not a real drug dealer, but rather a struggling businessman trying to save his company by any means possible. The DEA offered him a deal. They promised to release him without imprisonment or punishment in exchange for providing information about his suspicious clients, many of whom were likely involved in drug smuggling and were using the modified planes for their illicit activities. Rick agreed to the deal, and he started informing the authorities about any suspicious individuals or activities that took place within his company.
He took the deal?
In 1981, through one of his clients, Rick got connected to a drug smuggling cartel based in Tampa, Florida. As we previously mentioned, Florida was a central hub for many of these smugglers due to its proximity to Colombia, the major cocaine-producing country. The cartel saw potential in Rick as he possessed exceptional skills and knowledge as a pilot and engineer. Rick received an offer to become the smuggler's pilot and transporter in exchange for a substantial sum of money. Considering his company's financial crisis, Rick saw this as an opportunity to make some quick money and inject funds back into his struggling business. He agreed to work with the cartel, believing it would be a temporary venture that could help him recover financially. However, he soon discovered that many of the cartel members were not just smugglers but also drug users, which negatively affected their work ethics and operations. Even their own plans were disorganized, and he found that the additional fuel tanks were placed openly inside the aircraft cabin, and the cargo, including drugs, was scattered haphazardly around them. The cartel's main base was in Florida, a state heavily monitored by the DEA, which has numerous radar systems in place to detect suspicious aircraft movements. Despite the risks, Rick managed to avoid radar detection during his flights between Pennsylvania and Colombia, making him valuable to the drug producers in Medellin, Colombia. From the very first flight, Rick was able to skillfully avoid radar detection, making successful round trips to Florida without being caught. He undoubtedly deserved the substantial payment he received, which would greatly aid his struggling company. In total, Rick executed 3 smuggling operations with this cartel. However, he eventually decided to part ways with them due to the increasing risks and the subpar preparations of the cartel.
I didn't know there was a such thing as parting ways with a cartel. They ain't kill that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Part ways. I thought it was, nigga, if you in, you in. If you're out, you're dead. You know what I'm saying? So what the freak nigga mean part ways?
At that time, he felt that it might mark the end of his career in the field. Yet Rick's professionalism and precise performance compared to other smugglers got the attention of high-ranking figures in the Colombian drug industry. A leader from the Medellin cartel named Giorgio Coa, a close friend of Escobar, and a significant figure in the cartel who was responsible for the majority of the cocaine entering America, personally reached out to Rick. During their meeting, they talked extensively, and Rick became convinced to return to the smuggling business once again. As these figures were real drug producers and not just small-time smugglers like the ones he had worked with before.
These real big boys.
Rick knew that this was an opportunity he couldn't pass up.
It's a big boy.
Especially when George generously promised him millions and a life of wealth, vowing to transform his life completely. However, at the end of their meeting, George gave him a stern warning. He said, "If you ever deceive us, we will find you, and this will be your end." Despite the risks, Rick understood the dangerous world he was stepping into and was prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. His first challenge was to figure out how to make a direct flight from his city in Pennsylvania to Columbia without having to refuel, which would require Rick to make modifications to his aircraft more robust than any he had done before. Rick acquired a Cessna 310, a model he had worked with extensively in the past and knew every detail of. The aircraft's natural range was about 1,500 chem, so the first step was to modify its fuel tank capacity. The original capacity was around 2,000 gallons, but Rick ingeniously increased it to 6,000 gallons, tripling the amount of fuel it could carry. This enhancement would allow the plane to cover the vast distance required for the direct flight. To avoid drawing attention from authorities, Rick knew he had to be discreet in his modifications. Unlike other smugglers, who often placed barrels of fuel inside the plane's cabin, which looked suspicious and out of the ordinary, Rick came up with a clever solution. He obtained sturdy rubber bags that could be filled with fuel, and he strategically hid them throughout the aircraft's structure.
This nigga smart.
Rick made use of every available empty space
Smart
in
nigga.
the structure, storing the fuel bags in the front of the aircraft, beneath the flooring, in luggage compartments, and along the sides of the wings, and he ensured that the fuel distribution was even and balanced.
These are the type of niggas, even though he doing bad, y'all, these are the type of niggas that I like look at and, you know, just admire, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, cause like at the end of the day, like I like smart niggas, man. You feel me? Like I'm gonna keep it real with you. You feel me? I don't crash out niggas. Niggas dumb to me. You know what I mean? Niggas are just loose. A lot of these niggas some loose gooses. You know, you ever met a nigga that just do not care? You feel me? You can't hang around a nigga that just don't care. You don't care. Like you just loose, a crash out, nigga. That nigga gonna be dead in the next 5 years. Nigga gonna be freaking in jail. There's a lot of niggas out here that just don't care. And they think that's tough. You dumb. You're jackass, nigga. I laugh at niggas that say they don't care. I don't care. I'm a crash out. That nigga gonna die in the next 5 years. You know how many crash outs in the graveyard? You know what I mean? You not caring. You not being scared of nothing. You're not being like, you know, like niggas like this. These the niggas that, even though bro probably got caught, you know what I'm saying? Bro, you know what I'm saying, did it for a long time without being noticed. You know what I'm saying? So it's just thinking with your mind, thinking with your brain. I like smart niggas. That's why I look smart niggas. This nigga's smart. This nigga's a genius. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nigga's a genius. You know what I mean? Geniuses. I like geniuses. I pay attention to geniuses. You know what I mean? Because your boy Jay consider himself a genius.
On the sides of the wings, and he ensured that the fuel distribution was even and
Yeah, bro. There's some niggas that just don't care about their lives, bro. Some niggas just don't care about their lives. You gotta outsmart a nigga like that. Nah, it's not that you scared of the nigga. It's that you gotta outsmart this nigga, because I got stuff to lose, and this nigga probably don't got nothing to lose. This nigga don't care about his life, but I care about mine. So at the end of the day, you probably just gotta walk away from him and then catch him, you know, where there's not cameras around. You gotta outsmart a crash out, bro. You know what I mean? You trying to avoid them, they think you scary. But the whole time you just care about your life. So I gotta get you done. I gotta do something to you without being noticed. You know what I'm saying? Without the cameras being around, I'll probably follow you to your crib. Some, you know what I'm saying? You gotta outsmart a crash out. Cause them niggas don't care. They don't care about their life. They think they tough by doing it. They don't care. They don't care about dying. They don't care about going to jail. So a nigga like that, gotta outsmart that nigga. Gotta walk away from niggas like that.
He established connections that allowed the fuel to flow
Gotta
easily
outsmart
from
him.
all bags to the engines, maintaining the plane's stability.
So how can I outsmart this dumb nigga?
Meticulous approach not only optimized fuel consumption, but also kept the aircraft's weight properly balanced. But of course, adding all this extra fuel would increase the load on the aircraft. Rick needed to strengthen the wings and wheel struts to handle the additional weight, and he also required a more powerful engine capable of carrying the plane's heavier load and covering long distances. He completely replaced the engine and made all these modifications, ensuring everything was precisely calibrated, and the work was done flawlessly. In addition to the external modifications, Rick also made adjustments inside the aircraft. He installed a radar device that could detect other radars and
Hey,
aerial
listen,
patrols conducted by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Rick was not only modifying
nigga injected a radar in the plane that can tell him who's who's watching, where the radar. That nigga smart, bro.
Conducted by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Rick was not only modifying the aircraft, but he was also that could detect other radars and aerial.
There you go, he said radar.
In addition to the external modifications, Rick also made adjustments inside the aircraft. He installed a radar device that could detect other radars and aerial patrols conducted by the Drug Enforcement Administration.
Freak, you do that?
Rick was not only modifying the aircraft, but he was also thinking smartly and finding ways to ensure he wouldn't get caught. Furthermore, he managed to bribe a corrupt customs agent who provided him with radar locations and patrol schedules, allowing him to avoid them easily. Rick established a radio communication network along the entire route from Pennsylvania to Colombia. He used a secret code to directly communicate with the cartel, avoiding making phone calls as those communications could be monitored.
Yep.
Rick was intelligent and cautious. He used to calculate everything before taking any step. Throughout this period, he consistently maintained his relationship with drug enforcement agents, the very agents who had recruited him to catch suspicious clients when he was first apprehended attempting to sell drugs. He developed a close rapport with them, talking to them daily and playing the role of a cooperative person, occasionally providing them with useful information and helping them apprehend other smugglers. The agents trusted him, completely unaware that behind their backs, he was preparing for a smuggling
operation. So basically, bro is getting rid of the competition while smuggling. You know what I mean? So it's not really like he's snitching. He's just really just getting rid of the competition. Now, he is snitching, but, you know, nigga just a genius, bro. I mean, getting rid of the other competition. I mean, other smugglers, man, getting them out the way. So what bro doing is a genius.
Larger than anything they had ever seen before. Finally, after 3 months of research and planning, Rick took his first flight and flew directly from Pennsylvania to Colombia. The journey lasted for a full 13 hours, covering a distance of 5,000 kilometers without the need to refuel again. Upon reaching Colombia, specifically the agreed-upon location, he landed on an improvised airstrip, not a real runway, just an open field. The cartel members were waiting there, and as soon as he landed, they began loading drugs onto his plane and refueling it. While they were finishing their tasks, Rick took a moment to rest after the long flight. At the same time, he calculated the new weight of the aircraft with the additional cargo and measured the length of the makeshift runway. He knew that the heavier the plane, the longer the distance required for takeoff, so precise calculations were crucial. Unfortunately, the airstrip was not paved, and to make matters worse, there were some inclines and declines, with a cluster of trees at the end. Thus, takeoff was challenging for the aircraft initially, but as it reached the end of the makeshift runway, just as Rick had anticipated, the plane managed to take off without crashing. This was in contrast to many other smugglers whose overloaded planes crashed due to excessive weight. However, Rick's powerful new engine modification proved its effectiveness in handling the extra load. On the return journey, Rick chose a different and longer route, but it was supposed to be safer and farther away from the Drug Enforcement Administration and Border Patrol facilities with their radars. Rick was confident that he could take this route because he had ensured that the plane was stocked with even more fuel than needed.
Overestimating yourself, Rick.
The radar inside his plane alerted him that another aircraft was pursuing him. It was a Navy surveillance plane conducting border patrol. This meant he could encounter them anywhere, and if they got close, it would be the end of his journey, as they would arrest him or shoot down his plane. He had to get rid of them quickly before they closed in. The problem was that they were already on his radar, and his speed wouldn't allow him to outfly them. The only option he had was to enter a nearby thunderstorm. If Rick flew into it, the radar signals would be disrupted, giving him a chance to escape. Of course, this was a high-risk move. The choices were either spending the rest of his life in prison or facing a dangerous thunderstorm. The odds favored the storm.
Word up, nigga. Go into that storm, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, at the end of the day, it's odds that I can make it out this storm, nigga. But when it come to with them navies and, you know, nah, nigga, I'm going to jail. I know I'm going to jail. But when it come to this storm, I can make it out this storm, but I can't make it out of this. So we finna go right into that storm. And I say, God, forgive me for I have sinned. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, man, have a little talk with God, have a little talk with Jesus. You know what I mean? That I make it out this storm, and I shall make it out this storm.
What Rick did without hesitation, hoping the Navy plane wouldn't be prepared to follow him into it. Thankfully, Rick was a seasoned pilot, perhaps the best among all the smugglers. After 2 tense hours, he successfully emerged from the storm unscathed, flying low to avoid radar detection.
That nigga Rick like that!
Landed on an abandoned runway.
Look at that nigga Rick!
Touching down briefly before taking off again. The reason behind this maneuver was to make it seem like he was taking off from that location and not arriving from a long trip from Colombia. This way, the radar signals would show him as a regular aircraft flying locally. Afterward, Rick headed to Scranton, his hometown, communicating with the control tower and officially recording his arrival as a short domestic flight within the state. This further dispelled any suspicions. Besides, there were no suspicions about local pilots in that area, as the authorities believed all the smugglers were operating in Florida, completely unaware that someone could modify a small aircraft to fly such distances. Finally, back in his hometown, Rick delivered the cargo to the local drug dealers and distributors. In exchange for this nearly 1-ton load of cocaine, he received $1 million for this one daring journey. The cartel leaders were astonished by his performance and innovative methods, which allowed him to conduct multiple smuggling operations throughout the year.
Off of this one drop, this nigga made $1 million, and y'all niggas probably be like, what, $1 million? Y'all seen what that nigga had to go through? You know what I mean? This ain't no regular smuggler. This was a regular smuggler, bro would have got shot down by the Navy. Bro would have been in jail if this was a regular smuggler. That nigga went through the storm, maneuvered through the storm, and then hit, you know what I'm saying? So the only reason bro made it out, because that nigga Rick, nigga. Only reason bro made it out, because bro was a real deal pilot. You know what I mean? Nigga got his pilot license in high school. So don't think, oh, bro, this job was easy. Man, $1 million for that drop. No, it ain't just a drop now. Ain't just you just flying. It ain't just that. You gotta watch out for radars. You know, all that, bro. You gotta know how to maneuver through all that, man. Nigga ain't just flying in the air. Nigga get spotted. Nigga, you heard about them navies that was on them? Yeah, you get spotted in the air, nigga. Radars, you gotta know how to avoid radars and all that. You get spotted, but you going to jail. Just that simple, bro. Know what I mean? You gotta have the brains. You gotta have the skills to do this job. You know what I mean? If you don't have the brains, if you don't have the skills to do this job, you will die. And you will get caught.
On each trip, Rick would smuggle quantities of cocaine amounting to hundreds of kilograms, earning him $1 million or more each trip. As a result, he started amassing wealth beyond his wildest dreams.
You know what I'm saying, bro? So you get like, man, they get like $3 million, $4 million. I'm done. That's it. That's life changing. $4 million. You'll survive on $4 million for your whole life if you invest it right. If you invest it right, I can't stand here and niggas talking about you cannot live on $1 million for the rest of your life. It's a freak you. Do you know how much $1 million is? If you invest that million right, man, bro, you can live off that million, bro.
Surprisingly, he even expanded his operations, forming his own specialized gang and employing more pilots. The number of flights increased significantly, and everything was under his close supervision, especially the meticulous modifications made to the planes. Each aircraft he used was professionally customized. demonstrating his attention to detail and dedication to his new world. As he became more experienced in his work, Rick's cautiousness diminished. Gradually, the fear dwindles and the caution decreases. Remarkably, despite the risk associated with smuggling, Rick and his gang never lost a single flight or aircraft. Such incidents were common in the smuggling business, but Rick and his team were the exception. He had become so adept at his craft that the cartel leaders marveled at his work. They would often reward him with amounts higher than what they initially agreed upon, because Rick was genuinely saving them a lot, transporting their goods more efficiently than they ever dreamed of. Throughout this period, Rick maintained his relationships with the undercover agents from the DEA. They were unaware of his real identity as a smuggler and genuinely believed he was cooperating with them. Rick strategically selected and shared useful information that helped them but never exposed him directly. He portrayed himself as an ally within the drug cartels, gaining their trust while secretly staying one step ahead of them, all as the country's most prominent trafficker. But in 1984, disaster struck when the smuggling gang from Florida that Rick worked for in his first operation got busted, and Rick got caught along with them. In total, 15 individuals were apprehended, including Rick, and they were all sent to Florida to stand trial for their smuggling activities in the state. During the trial, Rick confessed that he did indeed carry out these smuggling operations with the gang, but he did it with the intention of cooperating with the DEA. He aimed to provide them with valuable and in-depth information about the drug smuggling movements in the country. Remarkably, Rick even convinced the DEA agents he was working with to come and testify in court on his behalf. Meanwhile, Rick had reasons to be fearful. He worried that news of the trial, his cooperation with the DEA, and his involvement in local drug smuggling activities would reach the Colombian cartels. He feared they might consider him a traitor due to his double dealing. So, in order to maintain his credibility, Rick continued to participate in smuggling operations between court sessions. He found himself on trial for smuggling.
This nigga is drug smuggling in the middle of trial. What he's in trial for, what he's facing, drug smuggling, he's still doing it. Nigga's still doing it in the middle of trial.
Smuggling trips during the weekends. The trial lasted for 11 weeks. And during that time, Rick managed to carry out 11 smuggling trips. He earned a staggering $13 million from these trips while facing trial. Surprisingly, among the 15 defendants, he was the only one acquitted, thanks to the testimony of the DEA agents. Rick's success in the smuggling business had amassed him tens of millions, but handling such large sums required laundering. To achieve this, he sought the assistance of Michael Coffey, a banking expert who helped him transfer the money to offshore accounts outside the United States, making it appear clean. However, Rick faced a new problem when one of his pilots, a man named Jim Cooper. This pilot had returned from Colombia carrying a shipment of drugs. There was another person who was supposed to be a local distributor waiting for him at the airstrip to receive the shipment. However, by mistake, the drug dealer parked his car on the runway. When Jim attempted to land, the plane collided with the car, and the drug dealer was killed. The incident was reported, and the police arrived on the scene. They discovered the type of cargo Jim was carrying and realized he was a smuggler. He was promptly arrested, and now he is not only charged with drug smuggling, but also with unintentional murder. After the investigation was completed, Jim was given the right to make a call to anyone he wanted. The first person who came to Jim's mind was his gang leader, Rick. When Rick heard the news, he panicked, and instead of trying to calm Jim down and negotiate with him to keep quiet, he chose to completely abandon Jim, leaving him to fend for himself. Jim felt that his boss had abandoned him, and given the serious charges he was up against, he might receive a 30 or 40-year prison sentence. As a result, Jim decided to strike a
He
deal
finna
with the authorities.
he finna snitch on Rick. He finna snitch on that nigga.
Offering them information about Rick and his smuggling operations in exchange for immunity. Through Jim's confessions, the authorities began taking action against Rick and his company, Air America. However, they needed more evidence to arrest Rick based solely on Jim's confession. Consequently, they conducted a thorough review of everything related to him, including his company, invoices, communications, movements, and even bank accounts. With such a massive investigation, it was expected to take some time. Rick was aware that they were investigating about him and knew that sooner or later they would arrest him. To prepare for the inevitable, he transferred around $30 million to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Believing that the Cayman Islands don't have an extradition treaty with the United States, Rick fled to the same location with his airplane. Unfortunately for him, he was wrong. The U.S. authorities were able to trace his money to the Cayman Islands and found out that he was there. They sent a report about him to the local authorities on the island. Despite the absence of any extradition treaty between them, the local authorities decided that Rick was a troublemaker and undesirable. In 1986, the local police on the island arrested Rick and handed him over to U.S. authorities. Once he was back in the United States, the investigation began, and the charges were severe, ranging from various criminal activities to a potential sentence of up to 345 years in prison. To avoid such an outrageous sentence, Rick chose to cooperate with the investigators and inform them of the location of his hidden money. They seized over $21 million in cash, and in addition to the money, he fully disclosed all his operations, providing them with detailed explanations of his criminal activities and how he ran his operations. As a result of his cooperation, Rick's sentence was reduced to just 8.5 years, which, considering his status as one of the biggest smugglers in America, was relatively short. However, it is certain that he did not reveal all the money he had hidden. After serving his sentence, he would find a substantial amount of money awaiting him. The DEA considered that the information they obtained from him was more valuable than keeping him in prison for more years. And with that, we reach the end of our story.
Oh, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, that's what I be trying to tell y'all. So, bro would have stopped. You know what I mean? Would have had the 21 million, would have had the 30 million. I try to tell y'all, man, you know what I'm saying? The nigga got caught. This was a smart nigga. You know what I mean? A genius. You feel me? Did everything seem like he was doing everything right and still got caught. You know what I mean? He got caught really because he abandoned, you know what I mean? He abandoned his member. You know what I mean? So that shit already, Rick should already knew that. You know what I mean? You abandoned him, bro. You already know he finna go tell. You know what I mean? So I don't know why Rick didn't, you know,